Hello and welcome. Today I'll be showing you some of the things that I've printed this past year, including one that I did this year. I wanted to add more, but due to this not really working anymore, I think it just broke it. Due to this not really working anymore, as you can see here, I'm just gonna have it at this, and then I may do a one of an update over everything that I will be printing over 2019, which has only been like one main thing so far. But hopefully I'll be printing some more stuff. So yeah, why not let's get straight into this from the beginning. Now some of these things I don't have a time-lapse of, I just have a picture. So this is something that somebody suggested that I print for them, so I printed for them. Image quality isn't that great, but that's fine. Somebody suggested a turtle, and it turned out actually really good with all the detail on the back and stuff like that. And yeah, you can see that there are like kind of lines going like from horizontal, because that's how it prints. It prints one layer at a time, and sometimes you can really see the lines in there, but you couldn't see it. But on the last one, the tail actually sort of broke off because of how small it was, which is unfortunate. As you can see here is sand. Somebody suggested I print this, the small one on the right, but then they wanted a bigger one, bigger version. The leg actually broke off on the smaller one, but then I put it back together. I put a rubber band around this one, the previous one, to make sure it sticks together, and it stuck together pretty fine. This is the Destiny Hunter logo, which turned out pretty fine. They like that. You can see here we have the leg problem again, where the leg kind of snapped off. I also had a 3D pen, so I kind of put the 3D pen around there, and it still had black filament in it, so some of it did ooze out and I didn't notice, and then it kind of melted in with it. But yeah, other than that, it's fine. Somebody else wanted to print an Overwatch Reaper. So yeah, that's good. Somebody else suggested cat dog. You can see two pictures here. One of the cat, one of the dog. That turned out pretty good. And yeah, I enjoy printing these. This is the Samus helmet. This one took a little while to print. It's actually, I think it's hollow actually in there. So there's like a lot of support structure in there, so I had to like reach in there and get all that out and stuff. Somebody else wanted a tennis racket, but then they never paid for it or anything, so then I ended up regifting that. This is a bigger cat. You can see that the ears are actually cut off, and you can't see it, but I actually cut off the tail as well, because I was gonna use this for a project. This is a soccer ball. You can see it's in my car because I almost forgot to take a picture of it and somebody asked for it. But the cat, I believe I was trying to make the model look like a British fold, because I was trying to do that for a project, and I was like, hey, I'll just print out a cat that I can act with. This is a dragon here. Somebody was like, hey, just print me something cool for $2 or something like that, so I just printed something cool. So this is a dragonfly. This is the first dragonfly, because it was a bit too small and a bit too much detail in it. As you can see with the wings there's a little bit too much detail, so it kind of didn't look the greatest, plus the tail kind of maybe broke off a little bit, which is very unfortunate. And also the legs, they're very small legs and very bendable, and I think some of them are actually breaking off now. So yeah, if I want to do more detail, I'd have to make it print slower, and yeah, you can see there that the tail messes up. So yeah, here it is. You can see that the leg is kind of bent in a little bit, and all the details kind of like that. Now I'm printing a cowboy hat, and some of these people suggested to have things printed out for them, which they paid for and stuff like that. And some of these are gifts that I wanted to print out for people for Christmas, because it was around, well, it wasn't around Christmas time. I started printing these like a month or two before Christmas, or probably 3 months before Christmas, because I wanted to make sure that I had time to print everything without trying to jam everything in and maybe something going wrong and I wouldn't be able to print it. So yes, I printed this cowboy hat here, and yeah, printed it out pretty good. If you want to do something that's kind of like a shape that's kind of like normal, like this, like I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's like basically, if it's the more simplified it is, the better it kind of prints. So you can see that it's actually pretty smooth on some places, which is pretty good. Next up is a lion, and this lion actually printed out pretty smooth, and I didn't actually expect it to turn out this good. The only problem was with the paw here. Because of how it prints prints one section, then goes off to another and prints another section, and the main problem that I've been having is with the base. Yeah, is with the base, because it actually, whenever it's filling it in, it doesn't fill it in completely, so then there's like some pockets of like air in there, so then the base doesn't print out perfectly, and sometimes whenever it prints like the layers above it, it sometimes fixes it, and it sometimes doesn't, and it sometimes just messes the whole thing up. So I'm normally watching it for like the first few layers to make sure that it starts out as a good print. You can see how much detail is actually in this and how smooth it is, which is kind of surprising. And you don't see that many like horizontal lines in it as well, which is pretty good. Next one is a sleeping cat. This was another gift present for somebody. And you can see that it's actually it's moving pretty fast. You can actually see that it's pretty big, but it is very smooth because of how low poly it is, which is good. So this printed out pretty fine as well, as you will be able to see here, as it prints all the way up. And you can see that like there's two things here, so it goes back and forth between those two, and so then sometimes you get kind of like little tiny strands going off between those two, but it's easy to kind of chip off. This one is a Dalek here for like my dad's Christmas gift, because he likes Doctor Who. I like Doctor Who. But you may be noticing, if you know what Daleks are, they have these things coming out in front of them, and so then there would be normally supports there. But this 3D model that I found had detachable stuff that mounts to it, so that prints separately. So yeah, that was good. And they can kind of move since they are detachable and not static and just stuck in there. So you can see that there's little holes in there that they'll snap to. They are a bit flimsy since they are small, but they did actually turn out better than I expected them to. I expect them to like not print out at all. And that includes the eye sock as well, as you can see there. So yeah, now I'll just be a quick video of just the Dalek extensions here. Prints it up pretty fine, and you can see that it's already kind of bending here. And it's a little bit rough sometimes with higher quality. I think the thing with higher quality is it's fine with higher quality as long as it has support around it, because if it doesn't and it's just kind of like printing in thin air, then it kind of does mess up a little bit. But if you do the fine quality that's kind of like in the like whole thing, then it doesn't mess up as bad. This one is actually pretty cool. It's actually a cat in a box, and whenever it started printing, it was printing like two small rectangles at the bottom. I think you can like see the division there. So it's printing two small rectangles. I was like, what is that about? And then I realized that in the print, there are actually two small rectangles there, because as in a normal box, you have two flaps there. So that was a nice attention to detail with the model. And actually, this model actually goes pretty in detail, even with the parts that you can't see now, which is surprising, because it's like, I would kind of half expect this to be half full, just for support's sake, but it's not, which is pretty fine. Now this is a beaker, and I think I got this not off of Thingiverse, which is where I get most of my models. I think I got this one off of off of 3D Paint or Paint 3D, the new application for Windows 10. I searched through the community, and there was one that was a beaker like this, and then one that was like a triangle beaker thing, and I just removed that from the model. And I also added in some bubbles there, as you may be able to see, which is just circles, or spheres, I mean. It's 3D. You can see that there is still lines in it, but it turned out pretty good. This one's a 3D graph, and I actually really enjoyed just watching it. I was just like, oh man, look at that, because you can see it slowly builds up these like circles here. And I believe this is a sine and cosine 3D graph, so it makes a nice kind of wave pattern. So you can see here that this is just a straight line, and then it kind of curves like this, going through it and stuff like that. So yeah, that was pretty satisfying to watch. Print. You can see it prints all the way up. And my math teacher actually quite liked this as a Christmas gift. And you can see I removed all those supports, and it was actually pretty stable. I was worried that the lines would be too thin, but it wasn't. This is a French horn. You can see that it kind of did mess up a bit there, but not too bad. It turned out pretty good. And this is for, I think, a friend's birthday. And I was actually going to print out two things, but sadly the second one coming up here didn't turn out too well to plan, and you can see as time goes on, I start leaving it on its own for quite some time, because one, I forget about it because it's just running 24/7 sometimes, and then plus I know that it will probably not mess up. Unlike this one did mess up for some reason. Well, not for some reason. I think so. There's these gears that kind of push out the filament in here, and these gears go based off of a motor. And I think one of the gears are screwed in through the actual gear. And I think with me printing it so much, I think the screw got loose and then the gear moved. So then the filament wasn't being pushed out by the motor anymore. So then it just stopped printing, and you will see about like here that they'll just kind of, the top will start to get frayed, and then you'll see that it's not actually printing it. So as you can see right about now you can see that it gets frayed, and then I realized later that it's not actually printing, and I have to stop it because it's just wasting power now because it's not actually printing. So yeah, it's half of a baseball. Still pretty cool. I could like put it on some glass and it'll make the glass look broken. It's like, oh no, I put the baseball through the glass. But now it's coming up to October, so yeah, I started printing these gifts and stuff, these Christmas gifts, a little bit earlier. But now it's Christmas. Or not Christmas, but now it's October. So I thought, why not do some Halloween themed one? So this is like a pumpkin spider thing, and you can see it says part 1. That is because it messes up halfway through. So basically what the pumpkin spider is it looks like a pumpkin, but then you can fold out the legs and take out the head, and it looks like a spider. And then you can go back and forth with that. And I was a little bit worried about this print, since you would get like kind of joints and stuff that you'd have to like click together and stuff, so I wasn't sure how that would turn out. And as you will see, it didn't turn out too well. So it starts printing here, and you can see all the individual legs up front here, and then it's also printing all the joints and stuff. I was actually away, and then the tablet powered off, so now I'm back. You can see that the support here is kind of leaving, which is fine, but then as you'll see here, these start to like lose their support on the base or whatever, and it starts leaning back. It starts leaning back, and then it all just kind of fumbles together and it all messes up. But this part right here was still printing, so I left it printing for a while just to finish this part, and then it finished it. And so then I started reprinting the legs, just the legs this time, not the whole thing, because all the rest of the parts turned out pretty good. So then now I'm printing out the legs here, so you can see that there's 6 legs here, so started printing these, and they'll print. And you can see that the supports on these start to loosen again, but that's not a problem. As you'll be able to see. Whenever this support, I came back and I saw that this support completely left, and I was just like, oh man. And then I saw this support starting to leave, so I started like putting things here, but then it wasn't really working, and I just decided to leave it, because I thought maybe it would be fine, and it was. So see that this support will just come off eventually. And it's all the way up here as well that it starts to do that. I think it's this support that leaves. Maybe. Possibly. Maybe they don't leave. Oh, yep, see? This support's come off, and yeah, see, it completely comes off. I'm like, well, I can't fix that now. And then this, you could see that there's something there. That was me trying to support this one, because it started to kind of tilt, but not too bad. It just needs something to print off of. So I printed all these, and I tried to snap it all together. Didn't work out too well. This snapping, some of them didn't snap well, some of them were too loose, and it was all just falling apart. So I decided to completely scrap this project, and then this was actually at the beginning of October, and then because of this project, of it taking so long and of it not working, I decided to completely scrap this project, and I became like really what's it called, discouraged from printing again. So this is towards the end of October now, where I should actually be starting to print more gifts now, but you can see now I'm printing a zombie hand. It's like, hey, it's nearing October, or it's nearing Halloween, and I still haven't really printed anything yet. The other one was a failure. So I was like, hey, this is cool, a zombie hand. So I started printing a zombie hand, and you can see the veins here, and it's starting to do less of this line work here. I think it's because it's being used more, and maybe the gear was loose in the beginning and it wasn't fully pushing all the filament out at all times. But yeah, and you can see as it goes between two objects up top there, you kind of leave strands in between, but you can normally pick them out and stuff. So yeah, I took this photo as it was printing. It's like, oh no, there's a hand reaching up from the printer. So yeah, that looked pretty cool, so I had to take a picture of that. And then it was actually, at my school, it was actually going to be Nerd Day, and I thought, why not, for Nerd Day, print something out? So on this, I found this 3D model on Thingiverse that said, I support the 3D printing nerd. I was like, perfect. Yep, see, I support the 3D printing nerd. And so I was like, ha, perfect. Suits me well. Which, I mean, it basically means I support myself, which is kind of self-centered. Anyways, so now I started printing a skull. So I think it is still in October. You could see a bit of the support fell off because the base doesn't turn out perfect 100% of the time. But yeah, the skull actually turned out pretty well, and it was more of a skull bowl where you're supposed to put candy in it, but I printed it so small that, I mean, it didn't really matter. But I still like the shape of it and stuff. And I could have printed out a whole skull, but I decided to do the skull bowl for some reason. But then a little while afterwards, I thought, it's like, well, it's kind of just empty in there, and you know what could fit in there? A brain. So I looked for a brain, and I measured it out and stuff, and I found a 3D model of a brain, and I printed it, and it was actually pretty cool. You had to print left brain and right brain, and I didn't measure it exactly how I should have, because the brain is actually smaller than the actual skull, so it kind of does rattle in there a bit, which I don't think a normal brain would do. But I'm actually surprised at this level of detail, because like I was saying earlier, the level of detail is fine as long as it has something to go off of. Like if I'm printing a level detail here, it has the whole rest of the brain to kind of support it and do good detail of it. But if it's just like a random detail out here, then it probably won't print well. which is unfortunate. I think it's mainly to do with supports and the base not printing out that good. But yeah, these print out fine. Lost my voice a bit there. But yeah, these printed out fine, and I think it's now the end of October after this. But I did enjoy printing these. So now I should be getting into more gifts for Christmas now, if I remember that I'm printing. So you can see I'm starting to leave more. Yes, here we go. Skull and the brain. You can see the brain's a little bit smaller, but I still enjoyed that. Oh yeah, somebody came up to me after Halloween and they're like, oh yeah, I had like a Doctor Strange outfit. I made this quick paper or cardboard sling ring thing. It's like, oh, I should have asked you to print it. And I was like, well, I still can. So then he was like, yeah, sure. So I actually printed him a sling ring, even though it was already past Halloween in October, but he still enjoyed it, which was pretty cool. So yeah, this was the sling ring, and it has some details on the other side, but you can't see the details from this side, sadly. Yeah. Anyway, the next one should be coming up soon. Now this is the second try at the dragonfly because I realized that I needed to do another dragonfly, and you can see it kind of messed up there with the base over here in this section because sometimes it doesn't print the whole base, but then other times it just fills it in over it. So I wanted to print a less detailed dragonfly, so it's just flat wings, but I didn't realize that it was actually a bendable dragonfly, so there's actually like a lot of intricate things in here, I think. That this is the one that I'm thinking about, to where it kind of bends and they're not all really connected together. But it actually turned out pretty fine. And it was actually pretty bendable, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that. If I did, I probably wouldn't have printed it because of the failure of the other dragonfly. But yeah, you can see like there's little sections here of all the dragonfly parts, and you can kind of loosen it up and stuff like that. There's even like a keyhole. Next up is a German Shepherd for my German teacher. Anyways, this one actually printed out pretty good. It's like the lion. I'm surprised how good it is at actually printing animals. Besides maybe the ears, because the ears are kind of standalone, and it doesn't do well with standalone features. Or, yeah, standalone prints and stuff. That didn't make any sense. Anyways, so yeah, you can see it's printing up a bit more supports now. With the lion model, I actually found a lion model that said it didn't require supports at all, which is like, oh, yeah, I'll go for that, because it requires less time to, if you don't print supports. So that was good. So you can see this beautiful doggy here with its ears, and you can see that the ears have a little bit of line work in them, and it kind of does. I think my German teacher said that it did kind of break at one point, but she was able to glue it back together. Next is Chichen Itza, and this is for my history teacher, which turned out pretty good. Now here comes the problem with getting the prints off of the build plate here, because this was very difficult to get off the build plate. If you have something that has little surface area to the build plate, and it has some arching things that come out that you can kind of like pry off a little bit, then that's fine. But if it's just, this had more surface area at the bottom than on the top, so it's kind of really difficult to get off, which was unfortunate. And it took a little while, but I was eventually able to get it off. This was a helping hand. I printed this for the coach that was in charge of the life skills PE help, and I was part of that since no seniors signed up for that and they needed some help, so I volunteered for that. So I printed that for her. Next is for my English teacher. I printed a book. Before I was thinking maybe I'll print a book with maybe some like imagination kind of like sprawling out of it, like maybe like a castle, maybe like a river or something like that. Maybe some trees and like some buildings and stuff. But then I realized I'm not that talented at models, at 3D models. I just have a 3D printer. That's all that I can do. And I was actually reading a book during this, and whenever it's going through these like different sections here, there's actually like a little ledge here that I was printing, like these little ledges here. Whenever it's going through them, it's like it was like making all this sound. I was like, what is happening? I was just in the middle of reading my book whenever that was happening. But yeah, next I'm printing a guitar, and this is actually for one of my cousines, and she quite enjoyed it, and it was pretty fun to print. And you can see that it actually kind of moves like, what am I trying to say? It kind of curves, that's the words I'm trying to say. It curves like this, and it actually, on the 3D model, it had strings on it. I don't think I noticed it, but I noticed it in the 3D print. And I'm surprised that the details of the strings actually came out, because you could see it was going across. Yeah, so yeah, you can see the details of the strings there, and this was a little bit hollow here. I tried to get as much support out of it as I could, because I didn't realize it was hollow. But yeah, I think I got the most of it out of there, and it looked pretty good. Next up is a kind of like code thing, where it just says code. It's like a thing like that. This is for my computer programming teacher, because she needed one. She actually got a 3D printer this year, which is pretty exciting. It's a smaller build plate than this. Probably doesn't have that, and like it's two less masking tape layers things, if that makes any sense. But yeah, she got that part of the school funding and stuff, because I think they gave a 3D printer to each like school in the school district. So yeah, 3D printers are becoming more and more available to the public. So yeah, it had a smaller build plate, but it was actually encased a little bit more. So yeah, code right here. You can see a little bit of stuff there, but easy to remove. The next one is a Goofy robot, and one thing that I actually did do is that I printed some things for relatives, some things for teachers, and I also printed something for each one of the life skills students there, because I wanted to. So you can see here, this is like a Goofy robot, and it's a little bit weak here, unfortunately. And I don't think the antenna, yeah, that antenna is really that good. But it did turn out better than I thought it would. I thought it would have to print it upscaled a bit more, and then that would take more time and be a bit more costly. I didn't take the greatest of pictures here, but yeah, you can see it was kind of like bending there, which is unfortunate. Next one is a basketball. I'll print this one for another life skills student. So you can see here, basketball, and I had a lot of detail in it, and I was kind of actually worried about this one, mainly because the softball didn't turn out. I thought maybe the way it was printing with round objects for some reason loosened up the gear in there. I don't know, I was thinking about that, but it didn't mess up at all, and you can see the little lines of the basketball. Yep, there's one line there, and I think there's one line going around it, if I remember my basketballs, and then one line going around the top there. So yeah, it was, this one actually turned out pretty good. It's actually pretty smooth, didn't have too many horizontal lines in it of the printer doing each layer. So yeah, it turned out pretty good, pretty smooth. The bottom is a bit coarse because it was connected to a lot of supports at the bottom. Yeah, other than that, it was fine. And what's cool about the supports is that some of them are direct supports. They're like completely attached to the model, which is why it was a bit kind of raggy at the bottom, or raggedy, not, or what's that word? But anyways, then there's other supports that go all the way up, but then it's barely touching the 3D model. They're just like, hey, if you start leaning, I'll kind of support you, but I'm just kind of there and I'm not attached to you, which I thought that was kind of pretty cool. Another one is a boot. If you scaled this up, you could put pencils in it, but I think with this small scale. If you put pencils in it, it'll just fall over. So yeah, you can see that in all its detail in glory. Next up is a magnifying glass. So you can see, I think this was a Sherlock themed magnifying glass, which came in two parts because you could put just a plastic covering in there. So you'd have the plastic. I'm trying to words, but it's not working. You put the plastic circle into the center here to make it look like an actual magnifying glass, and then you put the second model, which is just like a slight ring there, and you just put that on top and maybe glue it together or something like that. But I just decided to merge the two models together, so just print as one instead of printing as two, because I didn't want to put a plastic circle in there to make it look like a magnifying glass, if you get what I mean. So you can see that there's like a little gap there for the two 3D models, but yeah, I think I merged the two models pretty good. Next up is a pointer hand, and if you've ever been to elementary, you've seen these pointer hands. They're the ones at the end of like the multicolored sticks and stuff like that. I think they actually sell them at the at those things where you go to the school and it's like, oh, you get all these books and prizes. I was like the book fair or something like that. But anyways, so yeah, you can see I printed that, and the person who actually made this model said that they actually took one of these and actually scanned it instead of making their own model, and you can see going back and forth between those two objects, you can see a bit of ruggedness in there, but other than that, it was fine. Next up is an elephant. This was this you could actually put like a phone and just have it laying right there, but I think I may have printed it too small. I'm not sure. I think it also had like an eye hole in it that went all the way through the model. I'm not sure if it went all the way through the model or not, due to me not being able to clear all the stuff out of it, because I think it kind of clogged up there with the base. But I was like, oh, there's like a hole, and I wasn't sure if it went halfway through or all the way through. But anyways, that was the elephant there, and you can see it was actually pretty tall to be a support for a phone. But I just used it as an elephant. So yeah, you can see this was the side of the base, and the base kind of like messed it up a bit there. But other than that, it was fine. Next up is a Christmas tree, and this one I experimented on because that's actually how it's supposed to turn out, where it relies on the threads falling, and it goes back and forth and around, and it kind of falls, and it falls into that kind of like that cool pattern there. Now you could see that the center was kind of messed up too, and I couldn't do anything about that because you were supposed to use another program. I use Cura, C-U-R-A, to print these, and you were supposed to use two different settings, one for the center and one for the outside. So whenever it got to the outside, you'd use one settings, inside you use another settings, but I didn't do that. But it still turned out fine. It's a little bit fragile, but it's pretty fine otherwise. This is another animal here. It's a dog, if you couldn't tell from that there. But yeah, it's a dog, and it's actually low poly, as you may be able to see there. But it did turn out fine, as it didn't have those ears up on top, which would cause some concern because it is just going up there and stuff like that. But no, this one actually turned out fine. I think maybe the paws, because the paws are normally the problem with these. The paws might have holes in them due to it being a small area that it needs to fill for the base, and it has trouble with that. And you may be able to notice that I'm still using the same roll of filament. I got this off of, I forgot where. You can see that there's a bit of ruggedness from the supports there. But that filament roll has actually lasted me since I started printing, which is actually pretty fantastic, since the roll of filament cost $20 and I've gotten about $35 off of selling the 3D prints. And I only sold maybe 10 to 20 of them. The rest are all gifts for Christmas. So next up here is Frosty the Snowman. And you can see it actually turned out pretty fine. I forgot about the broom here, because whenever I was snapping off all the supports here, it's like, oh shoot, there's a broom here. So I think I kind of bent it a little bit, because it is pretty skinny there, but other than that, it turned out pretty fine. Yeah, you can't see too much of it, and it's a little bit rugged, because I don't want to take off too much of it and then it doesn't do it too well. You could actually see a lot of horizontal line work in it, which isn't the greatest to see. Prefer it to be smooth, but sometimes that just happens. Next up is a cheetah, and you might be thinking right now this doesn't look like a cheetah, but that's because the cheetah is facing downwards. And the tail didn't turn out the greatest, but that's fine. This is actually supposed to print with a stand as well, because there's like a hole in the center of them where you could poke it and have that. You can see that the tail didn't print out, but it still had a tail, so I just kept it as that. Still a lot of horizontal line work, but that's fine. Next up is a smiley face, and this one printed out pretty well. It was a bit creepy because I didn't realize how much like in-depth detail there is to like the cheeks and stuff like that, and how rounded out it was. So it's just like, oh geez, that kind of looks a bit creepy there. You can see like the nose as well has some depth to it. So yeah, it kind of looks a bit creepy, but still happy. So I'm glad for that. Next up, this is actually 2019, and you can see I actually moved position here. This is, I think it's forever home in my room, because before it was right up to the next to the window, because that's where I could put it. But then I got my own table for this, and I put it here. And somebody wanted me to print them in Invader Zim, so that's what I did. I think this is actually the last one in this montage here. So yeah, everything printed out well, including the tongue there. And yeah, sadly the 3D model, well, the person who designed the 3D model didn't design it to sit down well, so I kind of had to rest it on the back there instead of putting it there. The ears didn't turn out, or whatever that is, didn't turn out well, but that's fine. And that is the end. So yes, that was all of those. I can see that it's still broken. I did print out another thing in 2019, which was actually a huge project, and I did it for a school project because I thought, hey, my health teacher wants that, I'll just print this. And it was a full 3D model of something, and if you want to see that, then be sure to stick around, I guess, or may make another video just on that because of how big of a project it was. I think it took longer than all of these combined, maybe, possibly not. No, maybe. Probably did, or probably didn't. I'm not sure. I don't remember. Anyways, so yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all that I wanted to show out of all of these models here. Ooh, wait, this scrolling works. This scrolling works. So does that mean no? It's still broken. So yeah, I would have tried to fit it into this video, but I couldn't and wasn't able to due to this breaking with too many slides being here, I guess. How many slides do I have? I actually can't tell because it's broken. I've like, there's more than, oh wait, this is all mixed up. I think there's more than 73. Yeah, oh wait, 85, there we go. Well, 84. Well, some of them are pictures, some of them are slideshows, so pretty much cut that in half, and it's like 42. So yeah, these are all the things that I printed out so far. I thought I'd just share that with you. I meant to make this video earlier, which would be spring break. That was the planned time, but then I got sick. And now it's moved to here. So yes, that is it. And it is summer now, so I will enjoy my time with summer. And yeah, that is pretty much it. Bye.